So today we're going to be going over how changing lever lengths actually impacts the movement pattern and execution and what you're going to be getting out of any movement that you're doing. So this is a really crucial variable to understand, not even just for what I'm going to perform, which is a dumbbell lateral raise, but any movement, because the same physics apply to every single thing that you're doing in the gym. If you're changing the lever length that you're performing a movement with, the whole movement is going to change, and your ability to generate force and tension is going to change, and also how you're experiencing that on your internal structures, your muscles, is going to be different as well. So I think the easiest way to describe this is with a dumbbell lateral raise, so that's how we're gonna go ahead and do it here. Anyone who has done a lateral raise understands that if you keep your arms locked out and try and raise it, it's a lot harder than if you bend your arms and raise them. In a nutshell, that is literally what this whole concept is about. If you bend your arms, something is easier. If you straighten them, it's a lot harder, especially whenever you're raising something against gravity, right? And the reason for that is because the way our muscles work, we have an origin and we have an insertion. And our muscles have a relatively finite length at rest. Whenever they contract, they get shorter, but our limb does not get any shorter, right? So if we have a weight at the end of our hand and our delt is contracting and shortening, our limb is staying the same length, our delt is getting shorter, but that weight is still at the end of our arm, and that's providing that resistance, that tension. But let's say in a different world, if my hand was at my elbow, well, all of a sudden, that weight feels a lot less heavy to my delts that are, again, shortening against the consistent length of my limb. But if the load, the external load, is here, halfway down my limb rather than at my hand, what's gonna happen is at my delt, it's a lot less tension is needed to actually create that movement. So we can mimic that same thing through a lateral raise with straight arms or a lateral raise with arms bent at 90 degrees. And a really good example of this would be something called a Poliquin lateral raise, where you actually start with a 90-degree arm angle, you extend out, and then you control the eccentric all the way down with straight arms. That movement is literally catered towards taking advantage of this lever length change and how a longer lever length is going to make the resistance heavier. The shorter lever length makes it easier. So you start the concentric easier, eccentric where we can actually control and handle more load. You extend into that longer lever length. So again, this principle applies and carries over into pretty much every exercise. You can think of something like a T-bar row, where if you have the load further out on the bar, it's gonna feel heavier. You can think of it as any kind of leg extension. If you have a leg extension pad higher up on your shin, it's gonna feel like less weight versus if it's at your ankles and on your feet. Same principle across different platforms, but the whole idea is based around if you shorten a lever length with the same origin insertion of a muscle, it is going to feel easier, and then vice versa. If you lengthen it, it's gonna feel harder. You can actually use that principle to take advantage of different things in the gym and actually make that work for you in different and more interesting and unique ways.